Good afternoon and welcome to the 2025 Outstanding Business Leader Virtual Symposium. I'm Professor Jim Hopp, Department Chair of Entrepreneurship at Northwood University, and I'm delighted to be your moderator for today's extraordinary discussion on leadership. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from this year's exceptional honorees, visionaries who are truly reshaping the business landscape. The Outstanding Business Leader Awards was developed by Dr. Arthur E. Turner, co-founder of Northwood University, and was established by the Northwood University Board of Trustees in 1981. Each recipient is selected on the basis of personal achievement that typifies the unique philosophy of Northwood University. Beyond recognition, these leaders will provide vital inspiration and mentorship to Northwood students, with proceeds from the OBL Gala funding the Outstanding Business Leader Endowed Scholarship Fund. Before we begin our questions, please let me share a little bit about each of the Class of 2025 honorees. First, the Richard DeVos Young Entrepreneur Award winners, Ben Marsh and Jacob Spence, co-founders and co-owners of Creation Coffee. Ben and Jacob transformed their passion for coffee into a thriving business with the founding of Creation Coffee. What began as a garage-based roasting operation has grown to a nationally recognized brand, delivering high-quality coffee to homes, offices, and cafes across the country. Both Northwood alum, Marsh and Spence, embody the entrepreneurial spirit that defines the university's mission. At our event, Lexi McGurk, class of 2026 and a junior accounting and entrepreneurship major, is the student presenter and will be interviewing and introducing Ben and Jacob at the Outstanding Business Leader Awards Gala. Our next awardee or honoree is Ambassador David T. Fisher, Chairman of the Suburban Collection Holdings, LLC. Ambassador Fisher served as United States Ambassador to the Kingdom of Morocco, where he played a key role in the historic Abraham Accords, reestablishing full diplomatic relations between Morocco and Israel. Prior to his diplomatic service, he led the Suburban Collection, one of the largest automotive dealership groups in the U.S. today. He continues his leadership in business and philanthropy through Suburban Collection Holdings and numerous civic and charitable endeavors. Ambassador Fisher's student presenter is Northwood International student Matilda Champagne, class of 2026. She's a junior studying healthcare management. Our next honoree is local right here in Midland, J.W. Fisher, PE, President of Fisher Contracting Company. J.W. has been a driving force in the construction industry for over 4 decades. As president of Fisher Contracting Company, he has led the company to prominence in Michigan infrastructure sector. His leadership extends to numerous industry associations and community organizations, underscoring his dedication to professional excellence and civic engagement. His student presenter is Stephen Hackbarth, class of 2027, a sophomore in marketing and marketing communications. Our next honoree, Bill Hanvey, MAAP, President and CEO of the Auto Care Association. Bill is a recognized leader in the automotive aftermarket industry, something near and dear to us here at Northwood. As CEO and President of the Auto Care Association, he has spearheaded critical initiatives, including right to repair legislation and workforce development programs. With a career spanning over 40 years, Hanvey's impact on the industry has been profound, earning him numerous accolades for his leadership and advocacy. Have a tough time with that word. His student presenter is senior Ethan Moots, class of 2025 in automotive aftermarket management and in automotive aftermarket marketing. And lastly, we have John Hennessy, founder and CEO of Hennessy Special Vehicles, Hennessy Performance, and the Tuner School. John transformed his passion for speed from setting racing records in modified vehicles to building one of the world's largest independent automotive tuning empires. Starting in his garage in 1991, he built a reputation for creating 1,000 horsepower twin turbocharged Dodge Vipers that caught international attention. That would be a lot of fun. His Texas-based company has enhanced over 14,000 specialty vehicles and achieved a major milestone with the Venom F5 hypercar, capable of 300 plus miles per hour, the fastest in the world today. Beyond his business venture, Hennessy established the Tuner School to educate the next generation of automotive enthusiasts and operates a 51,000 square foot facility with a high-speed racetrack. His student presenter is Eddie McNellis, class of 2026, a junior studying automotive aftermarket management. Wow, we have some great honorees today. Really looking forward to hearing from them about their journey. Thank you, all the honorees, for being here. Now let's get started and hear the stories directly from them. I am pleased to introduce our first outstanding business leaders. They are the recipients of the Richard DeVos Young Entrepreneurship Award. Ben and Jacob, let's get started with your first question. This falls under the title Calculated Disruption. Can you share a time when you had to disrupt your own business model or take a significant risk to stay competitive? And what guided your decision?
Yeah, so personally, when I hear the word disruption, the first thing that comes to mind for me is thinking back to COVID, when essentially the entire world was disrupted, and certainly our industry and the coffee industry went through major disruptions. So that's an easy example for us to think back to. So at that time, Creation Coffee, we were purely a wholesale coffee roasting company. We weren't operating coffee shops at the time. We have 4 cafes now, but at the time, we were just wholesaling and supplying coffee to other businesses. So at the time, when all retail outlets, coffee shops, et cetera, were shut down, our business, we saw an 80% plus drop off in the volume of coffee that we were sending out. And so it doesn't take long for you in that position to say, okay, we got to do something new, something different. We got to shake it up a little bit. So that was the time when we kind of pivoted and looked at, okay, our cafe partners that we're supplying coffee to are closed. There's no outlet there. What other outlets can we create? So that's a time when we reinvested into like our online experience to really enhance the ability for people to order coffee on an e-commerce level. We weren't doing much of that at the time, but we said, okay, we got to find a ways to sell coffee. Here's a way. Here is something that people don't need to leave their homes for to do. So we put a lot of investment into that online experience, invested into the packaging, the branding, the experience that people are going to have not only on the website, but when they receive our coffee at home. We put a lot into creating an elevated experience surrounding that. And we saw our e-commerce section of our business increase by 800% or more. And then even through that, once everything opened back up, we maintained those levels and have still been able to grow that. So that was a time when, we weren't really ever planning on really focusing on driving e-commerce sales through coffee, but out of necessity, we had to sort of say, hey, like we got to figure something else out and kind of disrupt what we're doing, which was, we turned something pretty bad. We made it through, but created an opportunity for us to sort of launch off into kind of a new section of our business there.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, our entire career in our business at Creation Coffee has been all disruption. We went, when we started out, we had a very specific vision of what we thought this business would look like, how we were going to do it, what we weren't going to do. I mean, I remember having meetings with people where they said, hey, we've got a slam dunk opportunity and you guys want to open up a coffee shop with me? And we were like, no, we're never going to do that. We're never going to go into coffee shops. When we first started out, we wanted to just roast coffee, supply coffee shops. That was it. And, 6 months into our business, it was like, okay, we need to disrupt this model. We need to learn how to train staffs. We need to start selling equipment because that's going to be our foot in the door for new coffee shops on how to get new business. And then we switched to, 2020, we started adding coffee shops and we have 4 coffee shops now. And now we're even looking into calculated disruption of that. Again, we said, we always want to be, running, managing our own shops. Now we're looking at, in the near future, finalizing paperwork for starting to do franchising and expanding that way. So throughout our whole business, as we've been going through this process, we've been looking at, disruptions, calculated disruptions to our business model and the way that we do things. But all of it has been, just a way to break out of the status quo and to kind of keep moving forward to growth and to maximize what we've got here at Creation Coffee. And it's been an exciting adventure.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Flexibility and being able to pivot sound like a couple of key entrepreneurial characteristics to have. Our next question is going to go to Honorary Ambassador David T. Fisher. David, your topic is career evolution. In an era where career paths are increasingly nonlinear, how has your journey challenged traditional notions of professional advancement?
Well, I think by necessity. If you think of my career, my first, I was an automobile retailer, which is near and dear to the school. But my first dealership was an Oldsmobile dealership. And if you think about it, you can't buy an Oldsmobile today. And not long after I was able to buy this store from my father, I think I really came upon the belief that Oldsmobile was a little like a melting ice cube. And what was I going to do to change? And which that made me change. It made my financing model change. It made my facility model change. And when we sold the business 4 years ago, this month actually, we had 50 facilities, 36 different brands of great variety. Chevrolet's a brand, Ford's a brand. And of those stores, many had multiple facilities. But during that time, we had lost, due to bankruptcy, 15 Saturn stores, Hummer, Pontiac. We had lost Chrysler franchises due to the fact they just discontinued them. So uncertainty, actually, what people don't think about it, is a certainty in our business. And if you look at the electric car versus ICE discussion today, this is moving much quicker than people realize. So in our case, we navigate by being together. We worked as a team. We worked as an economic group with the same guidelines. There were great rewards for doing that, but I'll tell you, as a leader, this thing is moving quickly, and so you had to lead by example. We this is all pre-COVID, so the discussion of being in the office really isn't much for us, because when you're in retail, unless you have a governor like we did in Michigan, who didn't think retail was important. That's my only political comment of the day. But you have to lead by example, show the value and the effort of what it's going to take. When you have the opportunities that this industry has, both from retail, used cars, parts and service, and I love body shops. We kept building body shops when people were getting out of the business, and we felt that was an economic certainty. We needed to be there for our customers. It's really a wonderful thing to be able to be in change. And the way I kind of viewed it, every day was different. If you saw all the franchise sold in America that have gone by the wayside, it's really quite surprising. And you don't really realize it while you're in it. But this business is, well, you think about today, we have tariffs today. We have discussion of Chinese vehicles. Do we have to move our plants back? And how do we as dealers then work within that framework? So it's a great opportunity business. I really love it. We're still in it today, but it is to me, the uncertainty is every day and ongoing.
Thank you, Ambassador. I know for sure what I'm taking from that is uncertainty is a certainty,
Yeah.
right? No truer statement has been made. Thank you. Next, we're going to go to JW. JW, your title is Digital Boundaries. With 24/7 connectivity, how do you maintain boundaries while staying accessible to your team? What is your approach to digital wellness, which is probably especially interesting in the contracting field? Oh, JW, you need to unmute. I think you're muted.
Yeah, you're really missing out there. So you have to realize you're talking to a 67-year-old, right? So when I got out of college in 1975, there was no such thing as personal computers. My digital experience was Fortran, which I hated. There was no cell phones. And so every day you'd come back to your office from wherever you'd been, and there'd be a stack of paper messages a foot high, and you'd spend a couple hours answering those messages, a week trading calls back and forth. So most of the digital revolution has been really good. It's made us a lot more productive, a lot more efficient. But where to set the boundaries has become a problem. And that really came about with the introduction of the smartphone in 2007, where all of a sudden emails could be received on your phone, people could text you, and people didn't have any boundaries. A lot of our customers, I think, are often trying to prove to their bosses how important they are by sending emails at all times of the night. So how do you set those boundaries up? And I've come to understand that there's only a certain amount you can do. This is the world we live in. So you have to accept a certain amount of it, and for the most part, it's good. But you can't answer everybody, and there has to be some time to yourself. So I've kind of come to a kind of a simple matrix. It's, first, who is it? You're always going to have to scan your phone and see who's there, right? You just cannot do it. You got to look down there and see who's looking for you. But then it's a pretty simple matrix for me. It's who is it? There are certain customers that if they're sending me an email, I'm getting back to them. If they're leaving me a voice message, I'm getting back to them. If any of my superintendents or safety people leave a message, I get back to them. They wouldn't be calling me or messaging me if it wasn't important, and I probably wouldn't sleep all night wondering what it is they wanted anyway. So those people get an instant response. And from there, I just ask myself a simple question. Does it really matter if I answer this tonight instead of at 7 in the morning or on Monday morning? And 95% of the time the answer is no. What are you going to do at 8 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night? So for me personally, that's my boundaries. I've accepted the fact you can't get away from it, but I've also gotten pretty firm about only answering the things that need to be answered and leave the rest to business hours. So that's my only other bit of advice is with instantaneous communication, everybody feels like answers have to be instantaneous. And some answers require some serious thought. You can really get yourself in trouble by snapping off an answer back. Particularly, you got to let your emotion die down on a lot of things. You're angry, you're hot. You're going to show those people who's who, and you need to calm down and think through your answer. So I've learned to send just a place-saving email back and say, thanks for your email. You deserve a thoughtful response, and I'm going to go cool off for a half an hour before I send it. So that's pretty much how I set up my digital boundaries. I'm not a real social media guy. That world came to be after I'd come of age, so we use it in the business, but I'm not entrenched in it like some of the younger people are.
Thank you, JW. I think one of the things I take from that, that really hits home is taking care of your customers and taking care of your employees.
Yeah.
Those are probably the two biggest areas and very key areas to take care of for sure. So thank you for your response. And now we'll move on to Honorary Bill Hanvey. Bill, your topic is navigating uncertainty. How do you help your team build resilience and confidence in an era of constant change and economic uncertainty? And, earlier when we were talking, if I may feed in, you were talking about, right, these tariffs are going to have a huge impact of where you're coming from. So you're living this as we speak.
Every day. And Jim, thank you so much. It's an honor to be honored with this esteemed group. Our industry, the auto care industry, it's built on uncertainty. So the transition from carburetor to fuel injection, from ICE to EV, our industry thrives on uncertainty, and the winner of that uncertainty is people that are prepared. And I put together a couple of things that when you're dealing with uncertainty, first and foremost, for me, get to the facts. Do you have all the facts? To the previous position, are you listening to everything on social media, or do you have the facts? Number one, establish that. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions as a leader so that you are better informed. And people genuinely appreciate the fact that you're asking them questions. Get ahead of the game. So how do you get ahead of the game? Well, you have to understand the game in order to get ahead of the game. So be a student of your industry, of your business. Look at past disruptors in your industry and what have you learned from them, and how has the industry adapted to that? Diversify your revenue and your customers. So that's an important thing, for us in this association. A large part of our revenue is our trade show every year in November. We saw the threat to that during COVID. And I think that anybody that has a customer base, try to diversify your customer base, and also try to diversify your revenue streams to keep you balanced during this uncertainty. Build your team to be multidimensional. So yes, we hire for positions, but we also hire for people. And do we do a good enough job to educate the entire team that you're building or that you're managing to be able to step in when something may arise? Do you have heir apparents? Do you have successors? So it's really important for people to build a team that's multidimensional and that understands the size and the scope of what you're trying to do. Install confidence in your customers. I always tell my team, be large and in charge. And what people look for when there are times of uncertainty is confidence. So the way that you build the confidence is to understand the facts like we just talked about, and create yourself to be invaluable to your customer base or to your members. You want to be that person or that association or that business that your customer comes to in times of crisis. And then, as the ambassador said, over communicate, understand the issues that are taking place that are driving that change, and have an answer, and practice role play so that you really can identify the best way to deliver your message. So those are just some of the few things that we deal with on an uncertain basis.
Thank you, Bill. That was fantastic. And I know we have a lot of students watching today. And one of the things I take from that is multidimensional employees, right?
Mhm.
Build your skill set, build your resume. Don't be too narrow focused, right? Make yourself valuable to your employee
You
or
bet.
to your employer, or become your own employer.
Mhm.
I think those can be really, really valuable lessons. So thank you, Bill. Our honoree John Hennessy is overseas, and I know is has some conflicts in being able to get connected. If he's able to join us, I will come back around and ask him his first question. But we'll circle back around. Ben and Jacob, you guys are on again, and your topic is agile excellence. How do you balance the need for speed and innovation with maintaining quality in today's fast-paced business environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, for us, this has been a big part of our business model, both in our roasting operation as well as in our coffee shops, because, you know, when people come in to get service, to get a cup of coffee, they're expecting speed. But for us, with our brand, what we're all about is quality, excellence, you know, having a product that people really see as next level. And so we've done things such as innovating for our coffee shops, for example. You can go a number of different routes. You can go very slow, you know, everything is manual process, takes a lot of training, takes a lot of expertise, takes a lot of time to do, or you can go fast, automated, push button, you know, everything's automatic, but the quality takes a little bit of a hit. So what we've done is we've found avenues where we've found a lot of great solutions where we create a high quality, you know, handcrafted experience where the items that we serve are still produced quickly. So, for example, in coffee, you make an espresso, you grind the coffee, you tamp it, you pull the espresso. That's the handcrafted way of doing it versus a push button machine that automatically grinds, that automatically tamps, and when you push the button, espresso just comes out. For us, we wanted to save everybody's wrists, save everybody's time, so we do things like we have an automatic tamper. It's, you know, just one little piece of equipment, but it speeds up the process, one less thing to train on, and still feels completely high quality artisan experience. So what we've done is, you know, tried to find ways where we can cut time without cutting quality in our manufacturing and shipping production. I would say we've always been really fast, and that's been a, you know, a really important thing to us. So basically, you know, finding ways that we can utilize technology to automate processes in the roasting, to automate processes in the labeling and the shipping, you know, every little step that we can take to be able to put out our high quality product without sacrificing that while still delivering a high expectation that people have in today's world, because they expect to be able to go through, you know, the drive-through and be out in 2 minutes, but you're trying to deliver a high quality product. And so we've tried to utilize technology to the maximum, utilize equipment to the maximum to be able to meet people's expectations in today's world while delivering it at a high quality.
Yeah, and I think in addition to like operational speed in innovation, there's something to be said about how to implement that organizationally, like when it comes to making decisions and when it comes to, you know, earlier I was talking about opportunities when we have to sort of pivot and disrupt and kind of change up what you're doing. There's ways to do that quickly, and then there's ways that you can easily get bogged down in your organization that prevent you from doing that. So like on our end organizationally, the way that we are able to be nimble and quick when it comes to innovations in kind of what we're doing on a larger picture level, it just comes down to building a team that you trust and empowering people to make decisions in the roles that they're gifted in. So that way, every decision that you make doesn't have to require a 3-hour meeting talking about the options and what are we going to do, or should we do this little thing or this little thing? It's like, hey, you're in charge of this because you're good at it, and we trust you to kind of spearhead this avenue or section of the business. And so you're empowered to make decisions on those things. You're empowered to move things forward without requiring micromanagement, without requiring meeting after meeting after meeting. It's really building a team with trust kind of as the kind of core principle there, and letting people play to their strengths and make decisions so that everything doesn't take 3 months to implement. It's, done like that, and still is done in a way that is aligned with our goals, aligned with our vision, because, we kind of set that in the organization. Everybody's aligned in where we're going, what we're about, and how we want to do things. But then people can kind of take ownership of their own department or avenue of the organization.
Excellent. Yeah, I think, when we talk about technology, what technology can do, we have to understand what product we're serving and what customer we're serving, certainly. I love the statement on it, empowering your employees. That's tough to do, especially if you're maybe a little type A and we like to control things. So excellent response from both of you on that. Thank you. Ambassador Fisher, your title is Navigating Uncertainty. So again, how do you help your team build resilience and confidence in an era of constant change and economic uncertainty?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say, and I should have started off with, we've been a big fan of Northwood University. We had many of our team members as graduates of Northwood. We used to go to Midland and participate in the auto shows and come up and recruit. So good job. Keep doing what you're doing. Just know the changes are coming quicker. If you think about change today, when I was in school, they thought we'd have one job, maybe two, or career. When I was chairman of Oakland University, the business school there thought it would be 7. You would have 7 different career paths. Think of that. And think of what you do when we started our business, and I'm going back to Oldsmobile because nobody can really remember what an Oldsmobile is. But if you think of the Cutlass, it was the Camry of today. The career path for people, you have to be empowered, you have to be educated, you have to be capable of technology, and you have to be always looking forward. When I think of people's careers, I want to empower them, but I want them to know where they need to go, what is best for them. In the back of their mind, they have to have that thought that, how do I help my career get forward? How do I help my company get forward? How do I help my family? And we always used to say, when we've had some storms here around the country, and the first thing we want to do is, how are our team members? Are we taking care of them? Is there anything they need before we come back after this fire in California, after this flood in Tampa? What do we need to do to be ready? So there's so much change today, and so many things competing with what we're thinking about. Our success will come from working hard on these little items that become customer satisfiers, employee satisfiers, and how do we go forward with that? How do I want to say this? COVID was but a stop in life, and we have to stop talking about COVID. We're past it. There are so many things in front of us, both economically and socially, that we have to keep our focus on what's really important. The company is important, the family's important, our customers are important. And when you keep those thoughts in mind, you'll be able to succeed.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words about Northwood. We take great pride in producing great students and great employees and great business owners. I would like to add that my first car upon graduation from college was a used 1977 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. It had crank down windows. It might have had air conditioning, and I think it had an AM and possibly FM radio. They definitely have changed, but I do remember my olds, and I drove a Pontiac as well. And it's hard to imagine that both those brands are they're out there, but they're no longer available in new cars for sure. So, and very interesting. I'm with you on many people for a long time thought we'd work for one company and now, you know, jumping around every 5 years is pretty normal. So, definitely a lot of uncertainty out there. Thank you for your answer. JW, back to you. Title of your question is Imposter Syndrome. Have you ever felt like an imposter at work? Why do you think some people feel less secure? And what advice can you give to someone to help them feel more confident? Oh, I think we need to, JW, I think we need to unmute.
Sorry about that.
Yep, that's okay.
Well, I'd say welcome to the club. If you're feeling a little insecure about a new position, yeah, I doubt there's anybody in business that hasn't had a little bit of the imposter syndrome or some insecurities. And I think it's a natural consequence of moving up through an organization, right? Almost by definition, being promoted to a new role, heavier responsibility, different duties, and I don't know how you could be the most confident person in the world would still have some doubts. And I experienced that even though I worked for a family business. I moved up rather quickly. I started in '79. In my 1990, I was president of Fisher Contracting and promptly led us into several disasters. And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's an honest feeling and you accept it. But I always took the attitude that the people who put me in that position, hopefully they know what they're doing, right? So they have confidence in me, and I should too. And second, a little fear and humility is kind of a good thing. It's a great motivator. That lack of total confidence is a great motivator. Dig in, work hard, go the extra mile to learn what you need to do. It's probably why you got to that spot to begin with, and it's probably why you're going to get to the next spot. And then third is with most things, if you're feeling that way, other people are too. You're not alone. I just say be confident. The leaders who you're working with saw something worth promoting. Have confidence in your work ethic and intelligence. You know, I never look at myself as some kind of wonder kind, but I look at people around me and I say, well, I'm as smart as they are, and I know I can work harder than they can. So be confident, work hard, and if you keep getting promoted, you're going to feel like a little bit of an imposter right till towards the end of your career. So.
Excellent answer, JW. And I love your comment. After becoming president, I led us into several disasters.
Oh yes, they were something.
And the fact that you're here today and you're being honored tell us that those disasters certainly did not end the company. So, you know, we all make mistakes along the way. And if we're not making mistakes, we're probably not trying hard enough. So thank you for the honesty and the humility, and your being here today certainly speaks volumes to working your way through those disasters. So thank you. Let's go back to Bill. And Bill, your question is around authentic leadership. In an age of increased transparency and social media, how do you maintain authenticity while managing professional expectations? So how do you maintain authenticity while managing professional expectations?
Thank you so much for the question, Jen. I do want to make sure that the ambassador is aware that the auto care industry still produces parts for those Oldsmobile, and we'd be happy to fix them back as far as we can go. So leadership. And you know what's interesting is the fact that I really developed my leadership style in college. And you know, a lot of the students that are listening today, you know, you're at college to, you know, to study and to expand your horizons, but don't neglect the fact that you're also there to learn how to interact with other people, how to gain support from people. And I really started to develop my leadership skills in college. And And I think the message here too is that it takes time for people to develop their own style, for people to feel comfortable with a particular style. So there are many, many, many books out there on how to be an effective leader, but ultimately it's upon yourself to really dig into what you stand for and develop your own leadership style. So that leads me to really my first bullet, which is be true to yourself and don't waffle. And I know that we've talked about COVID a lot today, but it was so disruptive. But especially for me, when this first rolled out, I made a commitment to myself and to our organization that we were going to do the right thing. So as a leader, commit yourself to doing the right thing, even though that right thing may not be financially beneficial short term. It might be long term, but do the right thing. And if you do the right thing, then good things will follow. Build a core set of values for you and for your team. With the Auto Care Association, we developed our core values not the minute I walked into the door, but it took us really 5 years to lean into our core values, which are teamwork, curiosity, integrity, and fun. So find core values that you can lean into. Be vulnerable as a leader. And when I say be vulnerable, I mean admit to making a mistake when you make a mistake and own up to it. And I look to that in an employee or to a colleague to say, hey, look, I was wrong or I made a mistake, but here is the way that we can fix it. And that's something I always look for in an employee. Don't bring me a problem, bring me a solution, right? Communicate with integrity and know that when you're communicating, you're not necessarily just communicating to your intended audience. Particularly today with social media, your reach is exponential. So communicate with integrity. Live what you preach. So, if you develop core values, but if the leader is not adhering to those core values, they're not worth the paper that they're written on. So understand that when you're a leader, you're signing up not just to lead an association or an organization, but you are signing up to make a commitment to live your core values. And then finally, so many problems and leadership issues could be resolved by explaining the why. And if you explain the why before you roll something out, it takes so much of that edge off of a difficult situation. So if people understand why we're headed in this direction or why we're taking this route, it makes it so much easier and you get people to follow along. So those are just some of the few things that I've learned along the way for authentic leadership.
Thank you, Bill. It's
Well
I,
said.
I love several of the things you said, but be true to yourself is one of the big ones.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you said you started building your leadership skills in college, right? Those come all the way along, and
Without
they
question.
certainly evolve with us. So it's
Mhm.
never too early to start, and show your ability to be a leader. So
Mhm.
appreciate that. I don't see Mr. Hennessy yet. So one thing I'd like to do at this point to those participating, there is a Q&A button, and please feel free to submit some questions that you may have. I'll continue to work off a list we have here, and then I'd really love to go to the audience and grab some questions for our honorees. But I am going to right now make my way back over to Ben and Jacob. And I'm going to ask you guys to take on the title of career evolution, right? We've already heard the question once before, but for you guys in an era where career paths are increasingly nonlinear, how has your journey challenged traditional notions of professional advancement?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think something super relevant, obviously, to any students listening, and I'm sure anybody else on the panel has their own stories as to the twists and turns, lefts and rights that your career can take. But kind of piggybacking off of what Bill just said about staying true to yourself, at least for me personally, that was a big thing, especially early earlier on in my career. I mean, I'm still young. I graduated in 2014, so I got a ways to go in a career. But even right from the get-go, right? So I graduated from Northwood, uh, studied advertising and marketing. The plan was to work in an ad agency, be a writer, do that whole thing. And out of school, got the internships, got the jobs, was kind of down that path, but just something didn't quite feel right. And I thought, like what I thought this was going to be isn't quite it. Even to the point where the firm that I was working for, I loved. We got to work on some really cool projects. It was really the dream, or what I thought would have been the dream for, 18-year-old me who kind of set this plan into motion. But it just something didn't feel right. And so kind of echoing on that notion of staying true to yourself and kind of following your gut, I just said, looking down the road at a, decades long career, is this really what I want to be doing? And if I was just straight up honest with myself, the answer was no. But I also knew that I had a lot to offer and I had a lot of skills that I learned in school, things that I could apply. And so rather than, obviously you kind of feel that pressure to quote unquote, like stick to the plan, you got this degree, this is kind of like what you're supposed to do. I would just encourage anybody listening to not feel like you need to do that, on paper, or have that 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan, but to just be willing to say, hey, like if it's not feeling right for you, you have a lot to offer. You have a strong skill set. So where else can you apply that? So for me personally, it was a matter of saying, hey, I know I was only a year or two in to this career in advertising, and I thought, like, this isn't for me. I already know it. I don't need to spend another 5 years to confirm that to myself. So I'm gonna figure out something else. So looking at what my skill sets were, what my strengths were, what my background was in education, and said, hey, like I think there's something else there, and that kind of sparked the journey down the coffee rabbit hole and opening the business with Creation Coffee. But I really would say it's just a matter of like looking at does this feel right for me? Is where I'm at right now the best fit? And if not, obviously like don't quit your job right in that moment that you have that first thought, right? Because there's some days that are going to be good. There's some days that are like going to feel like, oh, what am I doing? I don't belong here. But like just trust your gut, and if those feelings persist, say like, what else is out there for me, and be willing to kind of, again, like the question says, challenge that notion and take a leap to maybe a parallel path, rather than the quote unquote plan, or the 5-year, 20-year plan that you've kind of set in motion.
Yeah, for me, I would say, when you're growing up and you're taking all your career aptitude tests and you're trying to figure out what you should do, and there's kind of an idea of, you know, I'm gonna do this job and this is what I'm gonna do for my life, and this job even exists, right? Because when you think about that kind of thing and what plans we have, it's like all those jobs aren't always out there, or maybe they exist in a different context or in a different style of what's presented to you when you're young, and you kind of grow and you adapt. But honestly, flexibility, I would say, especially at Northwood, which I haven't given a shout out to Northwood. Great school, proud to have gone to Northwood University. I learned so much, Oh, we got a little heart there. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's cool. Yeah, Northwood, go Wood. But great school, and I really learned a lot there, in terms of like this type of thing, which is, especially if you're there, you're studying business, you might be studying a specific type of business or a specific, sector that you want to go into. Well, we've talked about COVID, right? But there are always disruptive events that are happening. Right now, AI is a disruptive event that's happening. Nobody knows exactly when or how fast or in what avenue AI is going to go, that it's going to be disruptive in our markets. When I was graduating college in 2011, we were still coming off of the Great Recession, and that was the big event that everybody talked about back then. And I studied finance, so I was looking to go into, a career on Wall Street. And I thought, no, it seems kind of shaky at the time. It doesn't seem like a good idea. And so there are always going to be disruptive events. There are always going to be shifts in the market that happen, especially today at the pace that technology is happening. So I would say really my advice to young people would be in career evolution and advancing your career is to get to know yourself. What are your skills? What's the value that you can add to an organization? What's an industry that you can really, lean into and grow and learn about that you're excited about? What's a way that you can bring your passion, your skills, your value to somebody? What's a way that you can pitch that? Because the world's always going to be changing. There are always going to be disruptive events, but you've got to find the way that you can kind of maximize your value in the market for that. And if you do that, I think you'll do well, no matter which direction you decide to go.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. I'm going to ask this question. I'll open it up to Bill and JW and Dave, if any one of you want to jump on this. Ben kind of made the note of, what's the dream, right? A lot of times when somebody comes by and says, hey, how's your day? And I'll say, living the dream. And I don't always mean it, and that's probably not good. But so JW, Bill, or Dave, what were your dreams when you were younger? And have you been living out your dreams?
I'd be happy to start. My dream was to be a sportscaster, but I quickly realized that I had a face for radio. And but you know what? So I graduated with a degree in journalism, but although not a pure journalist, I use that communication skill every day, whether it's writing, whether it's presenting, doing research. So, that's been so satisfying for me to have a job or a career where I'm doing many different things during the day. I could be working on marketing, I could be working on advocacy, right to repair, data, dealing with tariffs. So it is a job that is ideal for me in terms of being able to focus on many different things and really being curious about the entire industry. So that's what I thoroughly enjoy about what I do.
That's great. Variety is the spice of life, as they
Sure
say.
is. Yep, sure is.
Dave or JW, you want to jump in? You don't have to. I've
Well,
got
I
some
guess
questions. Go ahead.
my take is a little different. My dream, and we talked about this yesterday with my wonderful introducer, was about freedom. And what does freedom really mean? In my case, it's economic freedom. When you get to a certain point, freedom becomes choice. Choice leads you to where you want to be, how you want to live your life, what you'd like to do. So my dream was always to make this big enough, make it economically viable, but to bring a lot of folks with us. And the thing I hope the students remember is this is just the start. And have some fun, enjoy what you're doing, know and learn, but it's really about where you're going to go. When people ask me today, how am I doing? I said, well, I kind of hope to make a couple of bucks. Well, a couple of bucks could be serious. But what you want to do is where you want to have a plan in your mind. And I'm 78. I haven't figured this out yet. I'm going to find a job that I like soon. And I hope I don't screw it up. But I don't think of this as work. I really love what I do. And if you can't love what you're doing, you may not be doing the right thing.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, that is so true. JW, do you want to talk about dreams? And then I've got a couple questions from students who are watching.
Yeah, just real quick. I probably had the most linear career of anybody on the planet, right? I worked in the family business growing up in the summers and all through college, and I went back to work for them when I got out of college. My dream was to be doing pretty much what I'm doing today, and growing the business, getting us to our 100th year, which we celebrated our 100th year in business this year, and still have a happy family, or mostly happy. Family businesses have their moments, and but for the most part, it's good. And so I'd say, for me, I'm doing pretty much what I dreamed about 45, almost 50 years ago. So
Wow, that's fantastic. And congratulations to the Fisher companies on 100 years. It's phenomenal. We don't see that too often. So we have to celebrate those things for sure.
we do.
So I have a specific question for Marissa. It's for the Creation Coffee guys. It says, I'm a Northwood student who is studying both marketing and entrepreneurship and appreciate your advice regarding your story. I am curious, what kind of marketing skills help benefited you in your success within Creation Coffee? And that's from Marissa.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that as a advertising and marketing major. I think like things to be mindful of when you're there and when you're in that curriculum and studying, just soak it all in. Take advantage of all the hands-on opportunities that Northwood provides, which is huge for me. I feel like I learned more in some of those extracurriculars like AMA or AAF than I did in the classroom. But as it applies to what we're doing here at Creation Coffee, I think the biggest thing, more so than like, oh, how to create a nice looking print ad or how to come up with a slogan or something, is really the idea of understanding consumer behavior and what people are looking for and what they want, and really trying to put yourself in the mind of somebody who is a consumer, because that can apply across any industry that you find yourself in. And that is the key thing, right? Like if you want to sell something to somebody, you gotta sell it. You gotta get inside kind of their head. And so that component of marketing, more so than any specific like discipline in advertising and marketing, I would say is key, and is what really allowed us to grow. Is we're constantly thinking about that, like, oh wait, why would the customer want this when we could actually kind of tweak it and do it this way? Like that is so key, and that will kind of elevate you in your career in marketing or in business and as an entrepreneur. Just a really key component of that kind of area.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, and
Jacob,
I would,
but 30
sorry.
seconds, and I'm going to have one more quick question.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I think, in terms of marketing and why I think Ben and I have made a good team is because I went to Northwood for finance, and really in terms of marketing, the important key is return on investment. What are you getting when you send something out? What are you expecting to return from that? And so finding those avenues in marketing where it doesn't just look pretty, it's not just there for aesthetic, but it's something that you can drive something from and derive something from to grow your business. So anyways, that was my 30 seconds.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not trying to hurry you. The hour goes really fast, and you guys have been absolutely terrific. I'm going to grab, there's a couple more, and I'm going to grab Aaliyah and this is for anyone on the panel. Try to keep it to around 30 seconds. As business professionals, how do you find a balance between showing your personality into your business approach while still maintaining a high level of professionalism? Anybody who wants to take that one?
Well, I think Bill's comment about be true to yourself comes into play here. You can't pretend to be somebody you're not. You set your boundaries, but you are who you are, and don't be afraid to show people that. And people follow you because they trust you. They know you're going to be there for them, and that's how I would answer that question.
JW. Anyone else?
And don't be afraid to be a professional in your personal life either.
Yeah.
Right? So that there's nothing wrong with leading your personal life professionally. And if that's where it all begins. And if you're a professional in your personal life, then that easily transcends into your business life.
I think we all have a responsibility as corporate leaders to lead, to try to do the right things, try to work with teams, try to work with our communities, try to work with our companies and our families. So I think your personality will come out through that. But you don't typically have to moderate it too much.
Thank you. I see that we're nearly out of time. I was going to summarize what I heard, but there was so much great stuff there. I don't even have time to summarize it. Uncertainty is a certainty, jumped out. Creating brand, navigating uncertainty, being able to pivot. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, right? Keep moving forward. Gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your time with us. To our audience, thank you for joining Northwood University and our 2025 Outstanding Business Leader honorees. We look forward to seeing you at the Outstanding Business Leader Awards Gala on April 26, 2025 at the Henry Ford Museum. Please visit our website for more information at www.northwood.edu/OBL, or scan the link that Dan put up on the screen. You can see it right in front of you. Thank you all for participating. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Thank you for those who are online. Really looking forward to the event on the 26th and hearing more from each of our great honorees. Thanks for being with us today. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you for including us.